Hello YouTube, doing a video on DCS World, which is a digital flight combat simulator. The mission I will be doing is just a ground practice mission, one that I created. If you would like to fly this mission along with the tutorial, um, let me know. I'll put a link in the comments on how to download it. When you start it up, you are asked to choose a role. I have various different roles. I've made it multiplayer compatible so that you can fly it with your friends if you'd like. You can start off as a cold start in the hangar or the runway, or start off already flying in the sky. For this tutorial, I'm going to be talking about how to take off from a cold start. So we'll be selecting the hangar, and I'll also be talking about how to use guided munitions, particular the Vickers, which are TV guided ordnance. So we'll go ahead and select that top one. We'll hit fly. And here we are in the hangar ready for a cold start. Now the first thing I'm going to do is to turn on our batteries, which is going to calibrate all of our electronics. And when I do that, the master caution is going to come on, and I'm going to mute the sound temporarily while it calibrates. Okay, so to turn the batteries on, you hit right shift and L. While these are calibrating, let me first show you the mission. We're going to be taking off from Kolki, flying south down to Kobuleti, and we have an airfield that's set up as an X. It's very easy to see on the ground with a bunch of fuel tankers on the ground. They will not be shooting back, so again, this is just a ground practice mission. It should be pretty easy to do once you get used to the controls. And since we are talking about controls, I'm going to go into that next. If you hit the escape and go to the control area, this is where you can set up all your various different controls. DCS World's pretty extensive. There's probably like 300 or so different shortcuts. The ones that we are going to be focusing on are for the Vickers, which is the TV guided ordnance. And to use the TV targeting system, you need to know where these things are at. And for me, I have remapped the controls. The first thing is the display, zoom in and zoom out. It zooms in your TV camera in and out, and by default it's on equals and dash. I've set those up to be on my joystick. You can set them up whatever you'd like to be. If you want to try and use the defaults, just make sure you make note of where those are at, equals and dash. And then the other area is down under target. You have target lock. What that does is it locks the target, so you basically point the aircraft where you want the TV to look, you hit enter, and then if you move the aircraft after that point, the TV will still be focused on that point where you hit enter, and then you can use these keys to move the target designator around, or to slew the receptacle around inside the TV camera. And by default, those are set up as comma, period, semicolon, slash, and in my opinion, those aren't very intuitive. So I have remapped them both on the keyboard to be my arrow keys, down, left, right, and up, respectively. And I've also put them on my joystick as well. I have a Logitech Extreme 3D Pro joystick. It's got 12 different buttons on it. It's about $25–30 if you are in the market for a joystick. Okay, so now that we have the controls explained, I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel. And I'm going to be talking about how to get this thing started very shortly. Before I do that, I want to show you the default ordnance. To do that, I'm going to talk to ground control, ground crew. You can hit the back slash key, which is above your enter key on most keyboards. Then you can hit F8 to talk to ground control. And then when you do that, you can go to rearm and refuel. The default loadout that I have here is just the Vickers. You can put 8 on each side. That's 16 total missiles. I did put 2 extra fuel tanks as well. That is the default loadout for this mission. Anytime that you're focusing on one particular aspect, it's highly recommended that you do something similar to this, because the aircraft will be easy to control when it's, or easier to control when it's not loaded down with a bunch of ordnance that you're not even going to focus on. So I just have these Vickers and the 2 fuel tanks to give you some extra time to practice on your approaches. So I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel. I'm going to unmute sound, and we're going to start by starting the engines. To do that, you hold the right control key and home. That'll start the right engine. You'll see this green light turn on down here, and you'll hear the engine start to spool up. If I take a look externally, you can see that that right turbine is starting to turn. You want to wait until it gets up to about a little over 4.
Springfield 1-1. Copy. Clear for startup. Wind 041 at 3 meters per second.
Then I'm going to go ahead and hit the right Alt key and home to start the second, or the left engine. Close my canopy by hitting left control and C. I'm going to request taxi to runway by hitting F1. I already have that pulled up on my menu that you can see up there in the top right hand corner.
Call key. Springfield 1-1. Request taxi to runway. Springfield 1-1. Call key. Clear to taxi to runway 9.
They are telling me to taxi to runway 9. You can zoom out quite a bit, and you can look at the runway to figure out where 9 is. 9 is over here. So I'm going to be coming out of the hangar, taking a left, taking another left, and another left, and working my way down to 9. The other thing that we need to do is we need to turn on our navigational lights. Do that by right control and L. That makes them solid. When you hit it once, you hit it twice, and they blink. And that usually is a good thing to do, because that lets people around you know that you intend to be a moving target. And last but not least, I'm going to turn on my flaps. Go ahead and get moving here. Until you get flying, sometimes that master caution light does come on periodically. Okay, and if you hit left, shift F, that'll get your flaps down for takeoff. Then while we taxi to the runway, I'll just give you a real quick crash course on this HUD. Up in the left-hand corner of the HUD where you see 10, that is our speed. And then in the middle you see like a little ruler with 31 and 32. That is our bearing. So as we turn, you'll see it turn. Those are in degrees. 25 is short for 250 degrees, 240 degrees, 230 degrees, etc. It is in a 360 degree compass. And then to the right of that is our altitude. We are at 0. That's radar altitude. And then the little 10 degree ladder on the right hand side of the HUD, where you see 20, 10, 0, negative 10, that is our angle of pitch. And then to the right of that, where you see the arrow and the 0, that is our rate of descent or climb in meters. And let's see, the solid straight line in the middle of the HUD, that is just a visual indicator to show you where 0 pitch is. And then you have 3 tick marks, one that points up, and then 2 little ones on either side. That represents the wings and the tail of the aircraft. And then you see these little tick marks going all the way around. Those are 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 15 degrees increments, so that you can see your bank of roll. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and hit the number 1 key, which will put us in our navigational mode. And if I did my taxiing right, we should be lined up with 09.
Springfield 1-1. Copy. You are cleared for takeoff when ready. Climb 300 at QFE 749.21.
And we'll go ahead and take off. I'm going to wait till my speed gets up above 300 to take off. May have to give it a little bit of rudder input to keep it straight on the runway. I'm going to hit G to pull up my gear, and left, Control F to take up my flaps. We're going to follow the flight director, which is that little circle. We'll try and get that into the center of our HUD, and that'll bring us around to waypoint 2. You can also look at our HSI indicator down here, which I talked about in great detail in my last tutorial. I'm going to climb to about 2,500 meters. I'm right at 1,200 right now. I realize the flight director is wanting me to go down. That's a bug that I haven't corrected in the simulator yet. It's if you notice the small number above the 1,300, that is the altitude that's set for the actual waypoint that I'm flying to. And 700 is a little too low. It should be at 2,500. Okay. Now that I'm pretty much lined up, I'm going to go ahead and hit the number 7 key to switch to air to ground. We we only have one type of ground ordnance selected, which are the Vickers, 9A 4172s. The other thing that you need to do is to turn on the TV, which is the O key by default. And you can see that the altitude on the TV camera is also being displayed. And I'm going to use my HSI indicator to get me back on track here. I'm going to start lining it up for my approach. Now what I like to do when I'm coming in for an approach is I like to lower my throttle. I like to hit F to put on one stage of flaps. This will allow you to turn at a much slower rate of speed and maneuver at a much slower rate of speed without stalling. And if you notice, as I put the center of that circle receptacle on my HUD, I can see the ground. So I am going to lock it on the runway here. Now I'm going to zoom in, and then I can use let's lock it with the enter key by default. Then you can use your arrow keys to zoom around. I want to get it lined up right with that target. And this is one of those things that take a little bit of practice, because you're flying around, you're looking at the TV, you're hitting all these keys. Like I said, if you map them to your joystick, that makes life a lot easier. A good speed is like right around 450, 500. When I get it a little closer here, I think you have to be pretty much within 10 miles to be within range. Then we can fire. But obviously, if you know where your target is, it's good to be ready so that you can fire towards your maximum range. What that'll allow you to do is maybe get 2 missiles off instead of 1. Now I do have labels turned on, so if I look out my HUD, I can see those little red specks on the ground. It's just another indicator. Obviously, if you're wanting to play like a real simulator, you wouldn't have the labels turned on. And I think I'm going to do a little bit of both. So you can see the little arrow key on my head dropping down. Once that arrow key gets past that first filled in gray square, I can fire. And what you want to do is you want to get both of these circles lined up. So I got the small circle inside the bigger circle. You'll see LA go solid. That means I can fire. And then you just kind of watch and wait for a hit. And we have a hit. Now I can slew and hit the second target and see if I can hit it as well. And I got an LA, so I'm going to fire. And we got 2 good hits. So go ahead and go to max throttle. I want to climb because I'm getting low. I'm going to look at my heading as I'm flying over. I'm at 2-1 degrees, and basically to make a nice turn and come right back at it, I would want to go 180 degrees. In this case, we can just say 18. So 21 minus 18 is 3. So when I get out here a little ways and turn around, I should be at 3 to be coming right back towards it. You can add or subtract, it doesn't really matter. You just got to keep in mind that 36 is as high as it goes. So generally what I do is if it's over 18, I subtract. If it's less than 18, I add. And that makes it kind of easy unless you're coming in at a particular angle where it overlaps. You can also obviously use various different landmarks. I know that this runway that we are flying to is over the coast, so I know the ocean's going to be to my right. So when I turn around, the ocean should be to my left. So we're pretty far out here, so I'm going to go ahead and start making my turn. And again, when we go to turn, we should be at right around 3 up at the top to be lined up. I'm going to lower my speed. For my next tack run, you want to make sure you don't get too much below. You don't want to get close to 300, you'll probably stall. Again, I'm going to bring the center of that circle receptacle up to what I want to target. I'm going to hit the enter key to lock. And at this point, I can use the arrow keys to slew. I can use my zoom in key. And you can really see how important that zoom in key is. It makes it really hard to see unless you're zoomed in. So I'm going to align my circles back up. Wait for LA, which should be right about now, and fire. And I'm going to zoom out so that I can easily see the next target. See if I can get another one off. Waiting for LA. Do the same thing. We go to maximum throttle. We notate our heading here at 02. So I'm going to add 18 to that. So I make a right-handed turn. I should be at 200 to come right back over the top. Again, I'm going to look to be climbing about 2,500 meters. That's a real good attack range. Gives you plenty enough time. And if you maintain about a 10-15 degree pitch, by the time you get to 2,500, you're far enough away from it to start making your turn. And I'm about there. So I'm going to start making my turn. Again, I'm adding 18 to 2. So my compass should be 200. And I should be pointing right back at the runway to line up for another attack run. Like I said, this takes practice. Don't get discouraged if you are failing miserably in the beginning. So I'm going to get this down here. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to look around and see what else is on the ground here. zoom in. Looks like there's one right there. I'm going at a pretty steep angle downwards. I'm going to hit my B key to brake, keep my speed from getting too fast. That's a good kill. Let's see if I can get another one off. Turn my brake off. Full speed. 15-degree climb. I'm at 22. Now to make it a little more challenging, I'm going to hit my left shift F10 key to turn off labels. This is the time of day on this mission is pretty much high noon. If you're flying an early morning mission or towards the evening, instead of hitting O to turn on your camera, you can hit Shift O, I think, for nighttime camera, or maybe it's Alt O. There's what the night camera. Alright, I'm going to reduce my speed, make my turn, and this time I'll be doing it without labels turned on, so this will be a little harder because I won't be able to see the little red labels on the ground. And I suggest that you don't do that until you feel like you've mastered with labels on. So, I'm looking for the runway. There it is. So I'm going to get enter, get over it. Then I'm going to zoom in. Looks like there's one. And then now that I have a target locked, I'm going to point my aircraft so that the smaller circle is inside the bigger circle. And then at this point, I'm waiting for my lock authorization. Which should be about now. Sometimes after you've fired, you can zoom out to see what your next target is going to be. I'm going to go right down here and hit this one. Again, waiting for lock authorization. I'm not sure I fired at anything there. Thought that was something. It was nothing. So anyways, hopefully you get the idea. Like I said, setting up your... Hey, he's moving out, isn't he? He's like, I'm not going to sit there and let you shoot me. Hopefully you get the idea. I think a lot of it is just mastering the controls that you have to use. Again, just real quickly, the sequence is you first point the little round circle to where you want to attack on the ground. If I wanted to attack this little city here, I just line it up and then that locks it. So when I'm moving the aircraft around, the camera, as you can see, the camera is staying stationary. And then you want to use your cursor keys to slew it around. Zoom in, obviously. Let's blow this building up. And that's how you did it. Apparently, one missile wasn't enough to take that little building out, although it is smoking. Well, I hope you found this tutorial to be informative, and with some practice, maybe you can get proficient at using the TV guide ordnance, the Vickers. I do believe it's one of the better missiles, just because you get so many. 16's quite a bit, and they're very effective against tanks and various types of artillery. Please leave any comments that you have, and again, if you want to see some other tutorials covering some different topics, just let me know what you want to see, and I'll get them out there for you. Thanks for watching.